ES Audio.
When Raphael Sofoluke came up with the idea of the Black Business Show, an opportunity for black entrepreneurs to meet, network and show off their companies, there was, in some quarters, skepticism.
Now it sounds kind of ludicrous and crazy. Someone said, is there even enough black businesses for you to do this show year on year? Literally there's, we have hundreds of black-owned businesses. We can't actually fit all of our black-owned businesses into our show.
Now, that one show is part of Black Business Week. Around 15,000 attendees are expected this year to see speakers including Stephen Bartlett, Dr. Anne-Maria Maffedon and Frank Bruno at venues across London in October. It's one of the biggest events of the year, and get this, it started as a side hustle.
So I would go to work, get up at 6, be at work for 9, do a full working day, and then start working on my business from like 7 p.m, probably finish that around 1 a.m, get back up again. So it was a huge, the hours I put in was crazy.
I'm David Marsden from the Evening Standard. Now, Raphael is one of a panel of top entrepreneurs who will be judging the AXA Startup Angel competition being run in partnership with the Evening Standard. They're searching for new businesses to launch with 2 top prizes of £25,000 plus mentorship with people like Raphael himself, Sharmadean Reid, and the founders of Bosch, Henry Firth and Ian Thiesby. You'll also get business insurance for a year thanks to AXA. Entries close on June 4th, so you better get over to standard.co.uk/AXA Startup Angel pretty quick to have a look at the T's and C's and get your business idea out there. We'll be getting some tips from Raphael on what he's looking for in a standout business idea. But before we get to that, let's start with the man himself. The Black Business Show started in 2017. It's now the biggest event of its kind in the UK and Europe. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's so crazy because a lot of people say that they're like, oh, it hasn't been that long since you started, but it really feels so long for me.
I bet it does.
Just because of like the amount of changes that have taken place, the growth, the development of our conference. But yeah, set up in 2017, we had for our first one around 25 stands and 500 attendees. Small for our first one. Now the UK Black Business Show is a part of also a whole week of events, so UK Black Business Week. So yeah, it's really just grown. And I think one of the kind of key things why I like the AXA Startup Angel competition is because when I set up my business, I bootstrapped. So I had to use pretty much, if you know what bootstrapping is, my own money, using the revenue from the business to reinvest year on year. And actually, if I had that capital at the beginning, I feel like I could have got a lot further. I know a lot of people say it's quick as well, but I feel like I could have got a lot further, like really, really quickly. So that's why I feel like it's a great idea, offering these businesses the cash and the mentoring, which is key to really just kind of enhance their business and to grow quicker.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about the AXA Startup Angel competition later because you are one of the angels who's looking at that. So I want to speak to you about what kind of businesses and things you're expecting and who you think is going to do well. But just staying with the Black Business Show just now, I mean, you talked about it being small, but 500 people isn't that small. There was clearly a demand for something like this. Why hadn't it been done before, Raphael?
Oh, 100%. There definitely was a demand. For myself, I was surprised it hadn't been done as well, actually, when I thought of it. Not only was I the target audience, because I was creating it for myself, really. But, in business, if there's something that's a problem sometimes for you, then there's the likelihood is that there's other people like you out there as well. So when we launched, I booked the space for 25 stands, but in that first year, we actually got inquiries from 300 black-owned businesses to exhibit. But we couldn't increase because I had already paid it, and also I didn't have the money to pay for a bigger space. So very kind of early on, I kind of knew that there was a big demand. People were really excited about it, just about the opportunity to be in an environment with like-minded black entrepreneurs and professionals. I mentioned it before when I was kind of working for a company or I was going to different events, there would be so many times I would be like the only black person in the room. And I talk about role models a lot as well and how, it's good a lot of my business role models growing up were the people like Richard Branson, Alan Sugar, all the kind of business people that you would see on TV, when actually it's also important to have business role models that also look like you, who've come from the same background, whether that you're, a black business owner looking at, black role models, whether you're a woman looking at, women role models. It's really important. So, I hope this is a show that actually is, showcasing role models now, and giving that younger generation a bit of, inspiration.
Is that the importance of having a space like this exclusively for black businesses? Because as you've said, you've gone to lots of conferences and there have been black faces there, but not predominantly. Is it important to have that thing that people can walk in and go, yeah, I can do this?
Oh, 100%. So our slogan for the UK Black Business show was to inspire and connect. So to create connections, but also that inspiration, to be inspired when you go there, whether you're a black entrepreneur, whether you're a black professional, to come out of there feeling, actually, I can do this as well. I can become a multi-million-pound business as well. I can get to a senior position in my company. And the connections is also so important. We've got some great stories of people attending our show last year and then getting a job at JP Morgan. Or we've had some great stories of people finding their business partners at our 2018 show, and now they've got really successful businesses together. So essentially, our shows are really, really changing people's lives by, those networking opportunities, those connections, but also just feeling inspired as well.
And what I think you're saying is actually quite important there is that it's an opportunity for people to stand out, to go, here I am, and for others to discover them then.
Yeah, exactly. Huge opportunity. And I'm really kind of grateful that, again, that the idea came from me, and really and truly I'm just kind of like a vessel doing the event. And the event will last longer than me, I'm hoping. So it's bigger than myself. But yeah, it really, really is important to have a platform like this.
I feel like there's a good scaling up story in here, because you talked about having those 25 stands and then 300 people are trying to get a space in there. So very, very quickly, you must have had to scale things up. How did you do that? How did you go, right, okay, so here's what we had. It's bigger than what I thought it was going to be, and next year is going to be even bigger. Did you have a moment going, like, what do I do now? Or did you just go, right, we're going to do this?
It's so interesting because there's that pressure every year. Not only is it kind of people come away, they love the show and they're like, how are you going to top it next year? And then you're like, oh my gosh, like you've had this person this year, how are you going to top it? You've got Stephen Bartlett this year, who are you going to get next? Do you know what I mean? It's loads of kind of different pressures, but some of the things that I focus on is, execution, excellence, and longevity. Those are like my three kind of mantras. So, we get the feedback as well from attendees, from exhibitors, from sponsors on how we can improve the show. We ask them, what would you like to see? And literally, I was just kind of reinvesting my money year on year. So using the money from the ticket sales, the sponsorship, the exhibitors as well to continue to grow and to continue to market it. I think 2020 to 2021 was my full kind of it was when I created the UK Black Business Week, and I had the opportunity also to kind of properly go full time, because for a long time I was doing it part time as well. So I was juggling work as well, which is a lot of people didn't know that because it was so big. People didn't understand that I was doing it part time, but I was literally going to work. And at that time, people were still traveling to work every day. So I would go to work, get up at 6, be at work for 9, do a full working day. And maybe at lunch, I'm sneaking out to speak to a sponsor in the hotel nearby, getting back home, having my dinner, and then starting working on my business from like 7 p.m. Probably finish that around 1 a.m., get back up again. So it was a huge, the hours I put in was crazy while I was doing it part time. Yeah. But I got into a really kind of good position by 2020 to 2021 to be able to hire a full-time team. And now I've got a team kind of doing a number of different things. We've got a COO underneath me, marketing manager, operations, sales, and loads of people that help out on the day. So it's been a real journey to kind of get to that full-time kind of business owner, entrepreneur, and CEO. I feel like now, like the last few years, I can now fully call myself a CEO. Because I felt like I was calling myself founder and CEO, but I didn't have anyone that worked for me.
I'm the CEO of me.
Yeah, founder and CEO of like myself, but yeah, now I've got kind of a big team, and it's a different dynamic having a team, coming into the office every day with your team, managing performance and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a great journey. I love what I do as well, so it's definitely rewarding.
I think it's wild that the Black Business Show basically started as a side hustle.
Yeah.
That seems to be completely bonkers to me, because you've got all these people coming in here, and this was just like a thing you were doing on the side.
Yeah, exactly. It's really so interesting you use that term, because I'm actually working on something with that whole idea premise about kind of side hustling, etc., and it coming into like a full-time business, etc., like a little kind of blog. But yeah, again, I always knew the potential. I think it's really interesting when we think of like business ideas. Some of the best businesses have been created out of that, either frustration or inspiration. Yeah. So even things like, I think a guy called Zhang Koom, I think he was the creator of WhatsApp. And I think he was like frustrated about not being able to update people about where he was when he was at the gym. I think, yeah, if you research into it, it's really interesting. So there's so many ideas that have been created out of that, frustration or, inspiration. And literally that was it. I wanted to create that space for myself, but also by creating that space for myself, I was also helping so many other people like me who also needed it as well. Yeah.
And is that why you wanted to get involved with the AXA Startup Angel? Because you're going to be one of those entrepreneurs who are on this panel looking at the entrants and the people trying to win what are pretty great rewards for entering this competition. What are you looking for? What do you hope to see?
Yeah, the lineup's incredible, by the way. I think I'm really kind of also blessed to be alongside some great fellow judges as well. So Sharmadean Reed, who I've admired for a long time, Ian and Henry Bosch as well, who are great. All kind of in kind of different spaces, but all kind of got really kind of positive businesses as well. So they do the kind of like the vegan food, and Sharmadean, she's got the network for women. I've got the network for like Black business owners, entrepreneurs. So if I was to say what I'm looking for, and I can only speak for myself, but I feel like all of our judges, we're kind of aligned because of like some of our goals and mission, something that can have an impact on the world. Of course, business has to make money, but also, what impact can it have on others? What problem are you solving? So for me, that's what I want to see. How wide is that problem? Is it just a problem that people are facing in London? Is it a problem which people are facing in the UK? Or is it a problem that people are facing worldwide? Because then you can start to think, okay, how big can this business be? And I think it's also, I speak to a lot of investors as well, just because I've got investor friends, but a lot of people as well, when they look to invest in people, they invest in businesses, they invest in the people, the founders. So I want to see that, I want to see that hunger from them. I want to see them thinking big as well. Yeah, I think that's it. I know I've fully gone over.
No, it sounds really good. And who do you want to see applying for these kinds of things?
I want to see everyone. I always say, if you've got an idea that you just can't stop thinking about, you've got to apply. There's business ideas that have been in my mind and I just can't stop thinking about it. And I'm like, I have to do it. So that whether it's like an extension of the UK Black Business Show, etc., or this or that. For example, I published my first book with DK and Penguin in 2021 in the UK and US. I've always wanted to be to write a book. Mm-hmm. And then the opportunity kind of came about kind of through my agent. But I say, if there's, something that you can't stop thinking about, you think it's a great idea, you need to apply for it. You need to go for it. Because also as well, at the same time, there's someone in the world who has the same idea as you. So you have to beat them to it.
Yeah.
Because so many people, and I'm sure loads of business owners get this, they come up to you and be like, oh yeah, I thought of doing that idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens all the time. And it's just because there are so many people in this world. So you've got to move quick when you have a great idea, or someone will come and do it.
Okay, let's go to the ads. And if you've got that burning business ambition that you just can't get out of your head, go to standard.co.uk/AXA Startup Angel and tell us about it. Remember, you've got until June 4th to put your entry in. Standard.co.uk/AXA Startup Angel. Why not have a look right now? We'll even stick a direct link in the show notes. So all we have to do is hit a button. So what's the difference then between someone who has a great idea and then just sits on it, and then someone like you who goes ahead and does it, or the founder of WhatsApp you were talking about? What's the difference there between those people?
Not being afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Not being afraid to fail, kind of letting go and forgetting about kind of everyone. You're focused on this business, and, you know that you're going to push on that resilience. And for me, it's about, just jumping in there. Like, entrepreneurs are the biggest risk takers. I know it's cliche, but a lot of people, they don't gamble on themselves. So it's very easy for you to, go out and spend a lot of money on kind of clothes and restaurants. But as soon as it comes to your business, you're like, they could spend up to $1,000 on a luxury item, or they could spend loads on a night out. But as soon as it comes to, okay, it's £500 to design your website and your logo, they're like, oh, they start to think. But I think starting to take that gamble, betting on yourself. If there's anything that you want to bet on, it's yourself.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Did you feel that people were betting against you at any point?
That's a great question. Yes, I did. I had very early on, there were doubters. I think someone told me, which now it sounds kind of ludicrous and crazy. Someone said, is there even enough black businesses for you to do this show year on year? And literally there's, we have hundreds of black-owned businesses. We can't actually fit all of our black-owned businesses into our show. But also at the same time, we haven't even reached everyone in the UK who we would like to reach. So there was, people who, didn't think, it would be a success. A number of kind of different hiccups as well, kind of speaking to like vendors, etc. At the beginning. So I'll say kind of those people. And also, I'm not too sure if people thought I would carry it on year. I decided that I'm going to do this. This is going to be something every Black History Month. Even if I'm not making profit this year, we're going to go again next year, because this is what the people want. They want it. They love it. And I got to a position where I was almost obliged. I had to do it because it wasn't just for me anymore. Yeah. People needed it. So I think that also helped me to have that resilience, to be like, even the days where you feel like, oh, I want to quit. No, because actually you just had 3,000 people come to your event last year. Where are those people going to go next year? How are you going to explain to people that you've decided you're not doing the show because you're tired? It's, it's a lot of those things. But, I think, when people are betting against you, when there's kind of those hiccups in the roads, those are what defines an entrepreneur. Those are what kind of makes a CEO as well, how you navigate these things. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they went to a next level during kind of the pandemic and COVID.
Yeah.
Because they had to think on their feet. It was almost like a training camp. Like anyone who's a business owner and entrepreneur, you went up another level or two if you got through that, because the way you would have to pivot, the way you would have to think quickly, managing your team, it required a new version of you, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like I go into so many different things when I start.
Well, there's so much to talk about. However, I have gone a little bit over time. So one question we always ask at the end of these things is people on their journey to become a CEO. Can you remember what your first ever job interview was? And how did that go? How old were you? Where was it? How did it go down?
Wow, my first ever job interview. So my first ever job, it depends what you mean by job. Do you mean, because my first ever job was retail, working for Boots. But my first actual job, like out of uni, I was working for a media company, kind of selling digital advertising space in some of like the local newspapers. So like the Hackney Gazette and things like that. That one went, so I'll talk about both. The one for Boots, it was kind of, well, I didn't get it. And then I came back, did I interviews for another store and learned from the mistakes that I made from the first one. And I got that. So my first one was actually terrifying. I didn't know how to present myself. I think I was even like slouched on my chair.
I'm feeling bad now. Hold on. I'll say.
I didn't know like the basic things to do in an interview. So I learned from those and kind of got prep, and then I got my second one, which was great. So I had a nice little kind of side job at uni working for Boots. And then my first proper job out of kind of uni was that digital advertising space. And I remember I absolutely smashed the interview, and the lady, she's great as well. She's just retired now. She's like, you know, when you finish, you know, like with like the Man United players, they will always call Sir Alex Ferguson like boss, gaffer. Yeah. That's like this person. She's like that. She's like, that's boss to me. So she kind of helped me get in. And at the interview, she was just like, I looked at your CV and I've got to be honest, I wasn't going to give you this job off your CV. And I was just like, why? She was just like, it doesn't show you in the best light. You could have made yourself a lot better. Like, now interviewing you, you're fantastic. She was just like, let me be honest, I've just given the job to someone before you. So this interview was just almost like a formality. I had to have it. But guess what? I'm going to make an extra space. We're going to hire two of you because I think you're absolutely great. So I'm going to find budget for you. And that was my first kind of job that I got out of uni. And it just showed me that you can change anyone's opinion on you, you know. And, you know, being yourself is almost like a superpower. You know, I love, there's a quote that says, you know, be yourself because everyone else is taken. So, you know, using yourself and using what's good about you to impress people, whether that's sponsors, partners, etc. So, yeah, that's my stories about my first interviews.
That was Raphael Sofoluke, founder and CEO of The Black Business Show. For more news, interviews and analysis, check out the Evening Standard newspaper or go to standard.co.uk/business. How to Be a CEO is back on Monday. We'd love to see you then.